Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to make a start on the Mountain Majesties alternative cards from the May 2025 paper pumpkin kit. This is the most amazing kit. Each card, well, I'll show you the bases to start with. These are the bases, two-sided of course, which they've generously started giving us most often. But it then has all the same colour pieces to put on with dimensionals, and personally I think they're just such a lovely card. I could honestly just cut each card in half and slap a greeting on and send it out, but you know, that's a little bit too easy, isn't it? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take most of the components of some of the cards and a couple of the envelopes, and I'm going to make a few projects to get us started. So the first one, I had them all laid out in setlets. So the first one I'm going to make uses one of the envelopes, and the envelopes come like this. There is the pool party, there is a really light misty moonlight, and there is the blush blossom. So these are the pieces that I'm going to be using, and those of you who've seen me do my little envelope slicings before, I like to fasten them together, cobble them back together for the video, because of course we only get one round of everything and I don't have too many duplicates to be able to do it over. So here we start with the envelope. So I put it in the paper cutter and sliced down just the hair's breadth off the side and cut the bottom. So this piece is going to go off and belong to another project eventually. And the only piece I needed was the back of the envelope. So these were the scratchy edges. So I just brought them in so you could get a visual of, you know, how we had used it. This is the piece I'm going to put on the card. Then I had this lovely little piece left over. So waste not, want not. I needed a little greeting. So using the stylus shapes, I die cut that out of the piece that was left over. And like I say, I only cobble it back together with the post-it notes so you can see where it came from. And that again is a scrap. So we've got the two edges, and this piece was left from the back of the envelope, and I've got the entire front of the envelope for a project which will be coming. I'll probably go to bed tonight and my brain will start whirring. Oh, you know what I can do? That tends to be what happens. So I've got a piece of basic white cardstock, which is going to be the base of the card, 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. And then we're going to, this was cut down to 4 1/4, and it's just as long as it is. We didn't have to trim. I mean, you could trim it if you wanted it to be a straight edge, but it wasn't necessary because the pieces I'm going to put in, the other pieces that are going to go on the top, will disguise whatever this looks like. So let me just get some rolling adhesive. And here you can see where I pulled off the edge to try and maximize the width of the card. So easy peasy. You know what, I'm just going to bring in my silicone mat just so there is a contrast, because we're doing it full size, it's not a layered size down. And we're going to stick that on 4 1/4 onto a 4 1/4 piece. I mean, you can always check inside, and if you've got any overhang, just, you know, snip the slither off. So that is the front piece on. And then one of the die cuts were these lovely trees and some of the shapes. So what I wanted to do was lift one a little bit higher. I didn't want them both knocked down to the bottom of the card. So you can see, again, let me just bring in the silicone mat. There's about, I don't know what it is, 3/4 of an inch. It's really just so this edge doesn't stick out higher than the piece that's behind. And the snag, if there is such a thing, I'm just going to put a light pencil mark on there because we need to know where to bring that back to. With vellum, you can see when there's adhesive behind because it's translucent. So the trick is to try and make this where everything is just stuck on from behind. So this is how it's going to go on, but I want to pop these trees into here. So I am going to, what I'm going to do is cut this little tree off, and this is going to stick out higher. Well, this is supposed to go in the corner of the card, so I'm just going to take my snips, and you can see there's like a lighter and a darker pattern. I'm just going to make it be somewhat matching. It doesn't have to be exact. And then I'm just going to fussy cut this down on this side, and then I think I'll just cut that piece off from that tree, so it leaves a little bit of the tree for the other side. So if we line these back up, I don't want to stick them down yet because I've got to pop the trees in where they're going. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the sticky side of my post-it note and just hold it sort of in place. And then it's not even, but it doesn't matter because this has to pop under enough that it can't be seen. So all I want to do is attach this to the back of here. Oops. Let's try that again, Alyson. It is a little bit of a fuss to try and get it to be in the right position. But then if we get these trees, so they're not on the edge, but they're just behind enough, we can see that they're also going to line up at the pencil mark that we made. So we only need a really small amount of adhesive, and what we can do is put the adhesive on, rather than on here where it might stick out. I'm just going to roll a little bit of adhesive along there, just enough that it will hold that in place. So we've got some trees sticking out, and this little guy I'm just going to pop up here just so he's moved over a little bit. Really just looks like it spreads out the design that we have. So a little bit of adhesive at the top, of course, because putting it down at the pencil line there, it's not going to stick anything to anything. So that is the trees layered into the place that they would want to be. And then what we can do is we can go ahead and we can put adhesive where the front of this ends. So we can put some down the side on the trees and up there. But like I say, you don't want to put any more on higher than that, otherwise you will see the adhesive peeking out the back of the vellum layer. So we will just gently pop that on the pencil mark, and now it's caught behind. And then when we come to stick it on, you can still see the bit of the envelope, which gives it a little bit of depth. Looks like another layer in the mountains. So we know these are all nice and securely attached. And then what I'm going to do is pop them on with dimensionals, saying as they gave us thousands and thousands of them. Okay. My mother told me 1,000,000 times not to exaggerate. Now, of course, we can't put a dimensional behind the vellum for exactly the same reason. It will pop out. So what I'm going to do is just put it a little bit further in where there is something that obscures it. So you can see everywhere a dimensional has gone is not where there's like, I don't know, naked vellum, bare vellum, visible see-through vellum. But I'm not going to put any in this area because we're going to put the greeting there, and if you have too many dimensionals, it gets too thick. It gets double thickness, and it might not fit through the machine in the post office, and they will try and charge you extra postage. So again with the little silicone mat. So we'll bring this down and just pop it onto its dimensionals here, and now we've got that depth and that feeling. This is a little bit loose, but unfortunately there isn't a way that we can attach that any higher and get the greeting. So you remember we cut this little piece out of the spare piece of the envelope, and in the kit it comes with a little spot, Misty Moonlight, but because I have my big pad I am going to use it. So those of you who watched my previous few videos will think, oh, Alyson's back at home in a craft room, because I was away at my house in Florida and it doesn't have everything there like my craft room does. But what I did was I took a handy dandy selection of these spots, and they worked fabulously, because it's all it is a smaller version. There's nothing wrong or right about it. So there we have it. And now remember when I mentioned the dimensionals, they are sticking out, but there's nothing here. So if we pop a couple of dimensionals wherever I put them, you can see this was got the scratchy edge that was left over from being cut from the envelope, but it doesn't matter because it's hidden in the back. What we're going to do is pop the greeting on where there are no dimensionals, or we could put it up in the sky, but I thought sky against sky wouldn't work so well. So as long as you don't have two dimensionals on top of each other, when you pop these in the envelope, that will press down into the space where there's nothing extra. So there is the first card with lots of dimension, lots of trees, using the envelope. So I'll pop that off to one side so I don't lose it, and we can come back to that one. The second envelope card is using deckled circle. So there is a deckled circle somewhere, and it's the lovely, this lovely petal pink. It's such a really gentle color. So what I'm going to do is I am going to take a petal pink ink and the blending brushes, and I am going to blend the sun. So this is what I'm going to use. However, I already did one, Blue Peter Rules, as you know. Here's one I made earlier, and what I'm going to do is I am going to do this one a little bit lighter because I want it for the next project along. I mean, it's still going to have a bit of depth of color, but not quite as intense. So you can just tap off and then blend some color onto the circle. This one, like I say, is really heavy colored, but I'm going to pop this over to another card. It just killed two birds with one stone. I got something pre-done for this card, and then I was able to show you the concept and use it up that very piece for a second card coming. So I'll just pop my blending brush off to one side, and all I used was a little piece of computer paper, so I didn't get it all over my work surface. So again, it's just the envelope, cut down the sides, cut off the bottom, and this is the full front that is not going to get used because we are going to use these pieces. So here it is, post-it noted back together. So there's the scrappy side. There is the other side, the same as we had the last time. Just take the little bits of hold it together post-it note off. So this is the piece that's going to go on the front of the card. And then this time I cut a long greeting out of the spare piece. Same concept. These are actually the scraps that we have left. So I'll pop those over in the scrap pile. And this is just going to do exactly the same. It's just going to stick on. And because it's the quarter inch style, you just have to be careful with the placement. So again, basic white cardstock, 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4, and then folded in half. So let's get this one into place. It doesn't seem to want to go as easily as the previous one. There we go. Best go at it. So when we open it up, remember I said the last time sometimes there's just a little hair's breadth. Well, I got that this time. So let me just go up the edge with my snips. I mean, you can see how much there is to cut off. It's the slitheriest slither, but sometimes it just makes it look a little bit neater if you can get rid of it. And then these pieces were what came off the front of one of the cards. So it's this card, and so now here's the point I was making. Here's the card, so here's the piece, here's that piece, and then there is the vellum piece, and then there is the layered piece. So I honestly, in good conscience, can't take a card and put exactly the same pattern on it, even if it's dimensioned and it gives it a little bit of something. I thought there's way more ways I could utilize that and expand the number of cards I can get out of this kit. So we've used the back of one of the envelopes, and we are going to attach the pieces onto something that's plain. So we've duplicated that lovely look, and here is the sun that I made earlier. So this is how we're going to put this card together. First of all, however, in the kit comes these lovely birds. So I am just going to line up where I think my sun is going to be. And then I am going to put a lovely flock or two of birds. Oh, let me just grab a piece of scrap paper so I don't have birds all over my work surface. And there we go. So now we've got a lot of lovely birds in the background. And what I thought I would do, because again, with the dimensional rule, you don't want to have too many. So what I'm going to do is I am going to stick the blue, the bottom blue, on fully to the vellum. And because it's going to be covering it, you'll be able to see the sticky in the back. Actually, it's quite thick. It's a really quality vellum, but you would be able to see if there was some light shining from behind. So we'll pop that onto there. And then what I will do is, I don't know whether, you know what, no, I'm actually going to stick this one down as well, but we don't want the glue to go on the vellum, so we're only going to put adhesive where it's hidden from behind, and stick that onto there. So now we've got 3 layers without any dimension, but then that means we are free and clear to smother this one and make it stick out. Let me just find my dimensionals. So we can put quite a few on this one because it's a big piece and there's nothing is going to shine through from behind. Actually, let's not put that there because I'm going to pop the sun in just a minute. So take all the dimensionals off, all the backings off. Let me just get one more. And we are going to dimension those onto the front. And now we know this dips in, so when we stamp the greeting we can put it on and it's not going to stick out too far. Alternatively, you can just stamp the greeting and pop it on. So what I'm going to use is the greetings that came with the card were lovely, but it was very Father's Day oriented because, you know, of the time of the year. It says, for the best dad ever, you're the greatest, happy Father's Day. And I've actually already made the Father's Day card that I need. So what I did was I took one of these. It's from August of 24, and it's actually a birthday kit. And it's got a lovely happy birthday greeting. However, the actual stamp itself is curved. But the good thing about these polymer stamps is you can actually tweak them. Usually you can take a straight stamp and curl it. This time I'm taking a curved stamp and straightening it out. So I'm just going to get the happy birthday, and using the piece of leftover envelope from the side section, I'm just going to stamp happy birthday in a nice straight line on there. And I'm actually just going to stick mine straight on because this is full of dimensionals, and I'll just put it between the different layers so you can see them. And then because there's a gap here for this to go in, I am actually going to pop it up on dimensionals too, because why not? And then I'll just lift it forward, find where I think it would look the best, and pop it on. And there you have another envelope card. And the nice thing about the blending, because I put it on and mushed it around, it's got sort of like lovely sunspots. It's got texture to the sun. So that's the second card, the second envelope card. And then we're going to get on and use the one that I showed you by demonstration, and we're going to use half of the blues and greens card. So let me just find it. It's this one. So this is the card, and then there would be more pieces than this. There would be this piece as well, but I thought if I just put these two, you can see there's actually texture goes through. So I'm just going to attach this onto here in a moment. This is actually going to be a ZZ fold card. So 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. So we'll fold it in half, but it's also scored at 2 1/8, or you can just fold it back on itself. And then we've got the ZZ. And then what I'm going to do is take this card and cut it in half. So I'm going to put the sun on, but again, I'm going to just add some birds in the background. But what I think I'll do is, I think I will cut it in half first so I can make sure the birds are even. So this was the full card cut down. So it's 4 1/4. So I'm going to line it up at 2 1/8 and cut it in half. So now we can pop birds on both sides. They're sort of going around the sunspot. There we go. So we've still got the same idea, but they're not. I haven't run the risk of cutting a bird in half. So we're going to attach each piece to the half. So I'm going to have that half and that half. So when it's together, it's actually going to make it look like it's a full card front. So we'll just quickly pop the adhesive on here. I have to turn mine upside down because I'm a lefty to make sure I can get it lined up. So that's gone on that half, and then this one is going to go on well, basically the inside part, which isn't inside because of course it's exposed being a ZZ fold card, but you know what I mean. So we'll pop that on there, and now we've got the continuous look. But what I'm going to do is I am going to take these layers and I am going to attach them to the front of the card, but we have to do our usual ZZ trick where we fold it over, and we know we can't go beyond that. So I'm only going to do the green first, so we know we can't put adhesive beyond this point, otherwise it will stick out and it will show through the vellum. So we'll put a little bit of glue there and attach it. And then I was a little bit worried that it might stick out. This might flap too far. So I am going to sacrifice the whole vellum concept, and I'm going to put the teeny tiniest little dot of Tombow glue just on there. So it will show, might show. It is thick vellum like I just said in the previous card. So it's not too bad actually. It doesn't look, the Tombow sort of spreads out, whereas a piece of rolling adhesive or a glue dot might be more omnipresent. So then what we're going to do is we are going to attach this to here, and we can use our usual ZZ fold, but again we're only going to attach it where we know this dark green is. We don't want it to be in the vellum. I mean, we can't push our luck too far, so we'll go up to the edge and up where the greenery hides the vellum, and then this can get stuck on the bottom. I can see there's a little bit there which I'm going to have to come back shortly and use my adhesive remover, and I can see this is not even and it's just going to bother me. So again, snip a slither. So that's that, and then we've got the sun is going to go in the place where you would imagine the sun would be, and I'm actually going to put the greeting on here, and I'm going to use the happy birthday that came out of the kit itself. It does come with a lovely happy birthday greeting, so I'll just pop that plumb in the middle of the sunshine. And then we can attach this to here, but this time I'm going to attach it with dimensionals. So I'll just put 1, 2, 3. Peel all the backings off. Oh, there are going to be backings from here till next Tuesday, I fear. So there we have it. So there is a ZZ fold. It's got this greeting that carries over, and because it's vellum, this area of it actually shines through, so it gives it a little bit of extra dimension. And I just realized I didn't score that very well with my bone folder, so we'll go back and do that now. So there is a, whoops, there is a third card. So onward, my loves, onward. Let's go and give this one a try now. So this is the ZZ concept. And then I thought, oh, I wonder if I could make it slightly smaller. So still with the layers, but then using the top of the card. So I've taken a piece of Misty Moonlight, and it's 8.5 by 5.5, scored it 4 1/4. And then I've got the next layer down of Pecan Pie, so it's 4 by 5 1/4, and that is going to go on the front. And because it's a dark card, of course, we've got the 1/6 of a piece of white, basic white, is going to go on the inside. And because it just is, we can already put that on the inside. But then what I thought was I wanted the layers to go further and further down. So these are the pieces that the card came with, and I didn't really want to cut them up. So what I'm going to do is I am going to cut off my pieces. So I'm going to cut this blue layer. So I haven't tried this, so I hope it works. I hope it's a concept that I haven't just gone ahead and cut a card in half willy-nilly. So I've cut that piece off, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut sort of the next layer of pieces off. So what I want to do now is, this is going to stay full size. This is going to be 1/4 of an inch smaller and fit under there. So to be 1/4 of an inch smaller, you know, doing the math, we have to cut 1/8 of an inch off each side. So I know it's just a slither. Cut 1/8 off that side and 1/8 off that side. So bear with me, all you mathematicians. So now that is just going to be a little bit smaller yet. And then what I needed to do was bring the card down and also bring it in. So this one is going to be, well, this is the full size. This is only 4, so I need this to be 1/4 inch in off each side. So we'll cut the 1/2 inch off the top, and then we'll cut 1/4 inch off each side. I will, of course, put all the directions and dimensions for this one, because when I did it, I thought, oh, yeah, it's doable, but oh, that sounds pretty complicated to me. So I've made that the size down. Normally it would just be the 1/4 inch, but because it started out the full size, we've had to cut 1/2 inch all round. So we cut the full 1/2 inch off the top and 1/4 inch off each side, and it's going to go on this layer. So let me just stick it on. The effect is good. It's worth the effort, believe me. So that goes on to that one, and this can now go onto the front of the card. I will actually do it a second time, and I will cut a diagram. So that goes on there. Now this one is going to go on dimensionals, and it's going to be the same size as the pecan pie, as you can see. And then this one is going to come down and be the full width. So we've got everything is going smaller and smaller. So we just need some, actually I think I'm just going to stick this layer on. Oh, sorry, my head in the shot. So we'll stick that one on there, and we'll put this one on with dimensionals across the whole thing. Quickly peel those off. put that on across the whole thing. So we've got the layers, but you can see how they're matching with the sides. And then last but not least, we are going to put the greeting on, which I already cut this from Stylish Shapes and stamped it with the happy birthday, and that is going to go on the bottom. But what we need to attach that is one of the strips. So, or you can just use little dimensionals and cut them into little pieces, but because I've got the strips already, I thought it was just easier. So I put the strip on. I'm going to put a little bit of adhesive on the top. Oops. And then this is going to butt up to there, and then you've got the concept of how all the pieces go further and further in. So that's that one. It's not as fabulous an idea as I thought it would be when I started out this one, but you know what, it's lovely and it will do. And I think I might even find a little sun and add that to the top. So these are the 4 cards that we've done for this one, so it doesn't become like a forever project. So there is the one with the lovely trees and the one with the sun that we made from the envelopes. There is the ZZ fold card, which I think I've got a good idea of another one for my next video. And then we've got this weird and wonderful, this is what happens when you make it on the fly. I just like the idea of it going further and further in. So those are the cards we've got for now. All the directions and dimensions will be on my blog, especially a template for this one. If you like what you've seen, please consider subscribing. Please check back because you know there's going to be more. If you've got a question or a comment, pop those in the description box below. And last but not least, thanks so much for watching.